Disclaimer: the content provided in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. While we discuss topics related to mental health advice, life wisdom, and alike, the opinions expressed are personal views of the hosts and do not constitute professional, legal, or medical advice. We make no representations or warranties about the accuracy or completeness of the information discussed. Any action you take based on the information in this podcast is strictly at your own risk, and we are not liable for any losses or damages in connection with its use. Additionally, this podcast may contain discussions around addictions, substances, which are intended for adult audiences. We do not endorse any illegal activities. Please consult your local laws before engaging in any actions related to this content. By listening to this podcast, you agree that you are over the age of 18 or the age of majority in your jurisdiction and understand the terms of this disclaimer.
Welcome to the Balancing Forces podcast, where two opposites collide in the best way possible. One brings the fire,
the other keeps it chill.
But together we share life's lessons, hard-earned wisdom,
advice you can actually use.
Whether you need a fresh perspective or just a laugh, we're here to elevate your mind. So buckle up, because things are about to get real and
really funny.
So, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're doing all the things to manifest? Journaling, visualizing, raising your vibe? But your dream still feels like a really cute cloud that just keeps drifting out of reach? That's not your fault. You're manifesting with Jupiter, the planet of expansion, of vision, of dreaming big and feel good. And yes, Jupiter is the party. It's that high frequency energy that says, you can have more, you are meant for more. But here's the truth. Jupiter gives you the dream, but Saturn builds the damn road. Saturn is structure. Saturn is systems. Saturn is showing up even when you don't feel like it. Saturn says, you want it? Cool. Let's get to work. Real manifestation? It's a cosmic collab. Jupiter for the vision, Saturn for the follow-through. You don't just need the vibe. You need the vessel to hold it. So ask yourself, are you dreaming or building? The universe isn't just listening. It's watching what you build. Manifestation isn't just vibes, it's engineering your evolution. Inside the Alchemist Laboratory, we don't just vibe high and journal pretty affirmations. We build systems for your soul. We map transits into the body using your solar map so you know when to dream and when to design. And we help you create sustainable magic, not just spiritual highs. Chapter 42. NCAA Possession Arrows and Death by 1,000 Cuts. In relationships, people tend to compromise themselves most, not in the big things, but in the small things. If it is a big decision of whether to move to San Diego or take the job in Boston, most individuals will make their voice heard. Or if it's the big or medium-sized question of whether to have a third child, where to go for vacation this year, or even should we spend the holidays with your family or mine, people tend to make their needs and wants known. But when it comes to those medium to smaller decisions, it becomes very easy to lose yourself. Friday afternoon rolls around and the conversation arises. Well, what should we do tonight? Movie or dinner out? Whatever you want. Well, my partner may say, let's do a movie. I tell her that sounds good, even though I had been thinking it'd be fun to try the new steakhouse. What movie are you interested in? I ask. The new Bond movie looks awesome, she responds. Now, I love James Bond as much as anyone, but I know there's a period movie, my favorite genre, that only has a couple of weeks left in the indie theater. So, of course, I respond, Bond sounds awesome. Let's do it. Or perhaps, do I actually say, yeah, but that indie movie only has a couple weeks left. But you know what? I can see that next week on my own time. Are you sure? Yeah, I breezily respond. And how many times have you heard yourself say what I say next? It's no big deal. Same thing happens with popcorn versus dots, soda versus lemonade, ice cream after versus cocktail nearby. The response is so easily, well, what do you want? And pretty much always the response coming out of your mouth is, what do you want? It's no big deal. I'm flexible. Whatever you want. Your idea sounds great. I'm happy with either option. Nah, I'm cool. All good. No worries. And before you know it, the night is done and you've compromised yourself 100 times. Multiply that by 7 days a week, 52 weeks in a year, year after year, decade upon decade. It becomes very, very easy, basically a reflex, to compromise on all or most of the small and medium decisions that cross your path. It becomes so easy to make yourself liked by making the other person happy, basically purchasing them liking you by giving up most everything. I'm going to buy you liking me by always doing what you want, the thinking goes. And so you give this much and they give this much again and again and again. If you're a born giver, it is very easy to find yourself in a relationship with a born taker. They are happy to take and take and take. It is a great relationship, fits perfectly. And it's so easy to blame the other person for being a taker when you're just as guilty of creating the growing unrest in your life and soul. However, your crime is in not standing up for yourself, not standing up and speaking your truth in the small things. The real travesty that happens when we over compromise repeatedly is that we lose ourselves. In truth, you're already lost to a large degree. If incessant compromising and incessant refusal to speak your truth is your MO, you eventually find yourself way over there, completely beyond anything that remotely resembles who you really are. And you can feel it. Something just feels really, really off. Yet, because we're always told to compromise in relationships, you keep compromising your life away, never even thinking that that is precisely the problem. One-sided compromising is the death of an individual. The taker is dead internally, too, but for different reasons, and indicates a relationship that was doomed before it started. There was an old form of torture and execution from thousands of years back in China called lynching, or death by 1,000 cuts. In it, a person who committed a particularly severe crime had small portions of the skin and body cut or removed with a knife over time. More a form of torture than execution. It caused slow yet significant bleeding and eventual death after a very long time. Death by 1,000 cuts is fundamentally what happens, or actually what you do to yourself when you keep compromising, keep refusing to even speak or stand up for your truth or your desires again and again, year in and year out. Often it happens not just within one relationship, but it is carried into many and all aspects of life, work, family, friendships, and even parenting. And eventually, it slow kills your spirit and deadens your soul. As with nearly all things, it is a fear-driven behavior. The simple fear is that if I show you who I really am or tell you what I really want, you may not like me or may not want me. So we overcompromise. Your own sense of self and what you want become lost over time. Even if you were asked what you wanted, you wouldn't know. Worse, you can't even state, at least not audibly, what you don't want, which is normally the easiest part of discerning who one is and isn't. That's how lost the real you is. It is actually far less painful in the short term to not speak your truth at all and just do most things your partner's way than it is to speak your truth, i.e., to put yourself, your truth, and what you really want out there and have it rejected or negated. Far better to be rejected for a fake version of you than to show the real you and be rejected. The latter is far too painful. Better to just keep the real you inside than to risk that level of pain. And so we compromise, right? Again and again. An inch by blessed inch, our soul dies. Death by 1,000 cuts. Possession arrow. What most couples need is something to prevent that. Granted, each individual in the relationship needs to go deep inside themselves to open the 3 binary gates, smash those core negative messages in the cement of the soul, and change the core beliefs in the operating system of the soul. But given that work in each individual, assuming each individual is doing the real work of revealing the truth of what they want to be, say, do, and become, what is needed by the couple is some simple little tool for keeping it fair. In 1981, the NCAA instituted a ruling in college basketball stating that possession disputes, or jump balls, would be determined no longer by an actual jump ball, tossing the ball straight up, and a player from each team attempts to swat the ball to his own teammates, but by a possession arrow, a flip-flopping arrow on the sorcerer's table indicating which team gets the ball next. After each possession dispute, the arrow quietly flips to the other team. This jump ball, Michigan State gets the ball. The next jump ball, North Carolina gets the ball. Then Michigan State, etc. Fueled in part by the desire to keep the tempo of the game going, but more so by the need to eliminate any strategic advantage to teams with taller players who have the advantage in jump ball situations and who are in high demand in this sport and tend to go to the most successful programs. The implementation of the possession arrow leveled the playing field, or court, as it were. Jump ball? Just look to the scorer's table to see who gets the ball next. Simple. Next. Same way in relationships. You decide movie or dinner out. I decide which movie. You decide popcorn or not. I decide soda or lemonade, etc. Granted, it can get anal retentive if required of every last decision. Obviously, there's room for flexibility, but it is a great little tool for keeping it fair. I had one couple who came back to me a year after our work together. They had a few problems that needed ironing out as individuals and one biggie as a couple. The husband complained that the possession arrow was great, but not really. His wife, he reported, tended to say, "Well, you got to pick if we went to a movie last night, so I get to decide whose family we spend Easter with." Or, "You decided what we did for our day off last weekend, so I get to choose where we go for vacation." Or, "You got to pick how we rearrange the TV room furniture, so I get to pick which car we buy." You see the problem, right? She didn't. It was laughable, but the wife didn't see it. She felt that as long as there was a rotation, all was good. It was obvious they needed to start weighing the magnitude or gravity of the decisions as well. Picking where to go out for dinner is not a decision equal to whether or not we buy a new boat or not. Picking what to do for the weekend is not the same as picking the family vacation spot. Small for small, medium for medium, and work out the biggies together in a spirit of fairness and kindness. The implementation of such a tool requires a good faith agreement from both parties that neither will take advantage of it, either as an opportunity to rip off the other or as an opportunity to somehow hide without having to speak your mind, both of which were the previous problems this tool is intended to significantly reduce. The three-legged stool. There is one more important piece on the topic of compromising oneself as it relates to finding joy in life. It's the type of compromising we do, not when we're in relationships with someone else, but in your relationship with your own self. See, most of us define being happy in life as a sort of a three-legged stool. One leg is money, one leg is career, and one leg is love, relationship, and family. You give most people those three things and they're happy. More pointedly, those three things are what people spend most of their time worrying about, fussing over, and just plain wanting for most of their lives. Those are the biggies. The problem, though, is that we seem to never have them all at the same time, or at least, if so, not until well long into life. Or we seem to never have enough of them to really feel happy and content. The money never has enough zeros, the career accomplishments are never high enough, and the love never lasts long enough or always has hiccups and hardships. And because we place so much emphasis on these three biggies, we just can't seem to get happy. Even worse, when we do, worse even, when we do have one or two of the three legs of the stool, or perhaps even all three, it is an inevitable fact of life that we will lose one or two now and then in life. Loss is inevitable. And so, because we place so much weight on money, career, and love, our happiness is ripped from us when one of these is gone. Because we think we can only be happy when we have all three legs of the three-legged stool, i.e., only when we have the big things in life and have them in big amounts, we spend much of our lives quite unhappy, always striving, never there. But what if happiness were both possible and even likely without all three legs? What if it were possible, easy so, to stand up a bunch of books under your stool, so to speak, when one of the legs is missing, only to discover the stool is actually sturdier? Well, it's not only possible, it's actually fun. By integrating internal happiness into one's external life, the people who have mastered happiness realize that the small and medium stuff, the books under the seat of the stool, are far more powerful and sturdy in manifesting and growing happiness than are the big stuff. They are there day in and day out. They are easily added. They are far less debilitating when one is removed. The world doesn't end. True joy demands honoring self, not compromising one's own happiness, not just in the big stuff, but in the small and medium as well. We mistakenly spend so much time trying to win love from other people. The way we fill our own love cup is by attending to our own needs in the medium and small. Perhaps it is attending to your own health and fitness, daily workouts, biking regularly, horseback riding, taking dance classes, hikes, going organic in one's food buying, spending time with family, Sunday football games, leaf raking parties, kids' soccer games, seeking new adventures, walking new routes to work, exploring new parts of the state, playing and or singing in the bluegrass band or garage band, or even as trivial as trying a new genre of movies or music, volunteering at the homeless shelter. Incorporating happiness brings rituals into daily life. Morning mochas at the coffee shop, gardening. One client takes the train into New York City, but makes it a ritual to daily walk through Bryant Park on the way to and from the office because of the moment of peace and beauty it brings. Driving the pretty way to work rather than just the fastest way. Trying new things, even as seemingly trivial as new restaurants, new breakfast cereal, adding a new fun color to your wardrobe. There are a million different small and medium ways to add joy to your life, add peace to your life, and add meaning to your life. As these small and mediums accumulate, we find that our joy, true joy, increases significantly. We discover a kick in our step, more laughter, and a really great feeling of happiness inside. The small and medium stuff really do matter, and it's so doggone easy to neglect them. It's too easy to say, it's no big deal, about anything that isn't a big thing. It's easy to let the small and medium stuff slide, and with it, our happiness slides away too. Just like in a relationship with another person, in our own lives, we lose ourselves in a death by a thousand cuts when we neglect the small and medium stuff. What's really neat is that sometimes these small and mediums become big things, become a full size leg on the stool all by themselves. A dear friend of mine had always been a bit of a loner, yet had cultivated a kinship among his friends. But when he became a member of his girlfriend's big Southern family, the importance of family grew exponentially for him. It became its own leg on his stool of life, bringing him a level of happiness in such a new way, like he'd never known. Another example, numerous friends and clients have discovered after a lifetime of beating up their bodies in pursuit of a career that the desire and need for good health had become a sort of fourth leg on the stool, an absolute required item for them to be happy. The goal of life is to fill our own love cup, to create a life of diamonds, a life of self love, rather than trying to buy love from another person in a relationship. Until we can fill our own love cup, we are forever dependent on others for happiness, forever giving our power away, also forever waiting to get the three legs in place, forever tenuous, never arrived. And filling that love cup happens best in the small and mediums. However, that requires reorienting life from the biggest to the other stuff, or at least prioritizing some portion of life's energy to those other things, allowing them to grow and become new sources of joy, peace, and meaning. So remember, we're giving away this signed autograph copy of There's a Hole in My Love Cup. To enter, just like, subscribe, and comment. Also, sign up for our Beacons link to get into the giveaway. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stay amazing, stay awesome, and remember always to keep it real.